Happy Wednesday, happy Thursday, happy day, whatever you are listening to us on Ball Watching. Jake and Justin here. We are coming at you from our respective offices. Some looking a little bit more formed than others. Justin, yours is beautiful. I don't know what you did with those walls, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm actually sitting in my bathroom on the toilet. So this is
There you go.
So there you go.
I hear you've soundproofed that quite well, so it could make for a great sound quality.
It's incredible in here.
No, it looks great. I love what you're doing with the place. But for anyone that's not watching visually, you could check that out on YouTube after you're at Ball Watching STL on YouTube. We did just hit 700 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you all for getting us to that significant milestone. And we push our way now onto 1K. 1K is the next goal. So you are going to help us get there. Again, follow us. Subscribe to the show, like the show as you're listening to it. Really helps us get out to more and build that subscriber count and build more fans of this insanely cool club. But Justin, per demand, we promised we'd get back to it at some point here. I think you've got for us a little five-a-side today.
I do, and I kind of switched it up a little bit, Jake. This is going to be solely to you. Like when we've asked each other like trivia question or whatnot, I'm going to have you blindly rank these City players. So I'm gonna give one, and you're gonna have to rank. It's gonna be 5 of them, and you're gonna have to be like, "Ooh, I'm gonna think about higher, lower, wherever you want to put them," and then you're gonna put them in like 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. This is not just skill. This is like your favorite type of player, and then we're gonna go from there.
Okay.
First guy, Miggy Perez.
Yeah, Miggy. So Miggy obviously played a lot in the very beginning part of the season. He was a breakout star for the team. Obviously, being a teenager, still going, doing his classes in high school. Central defensive midfielder, homegrown, but we have not seen a lot of him recently. So I'm going to put Miggy for me in the 4 spot.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Putting
a lot more to come. A guy for the future.
Yeah, that is true. I guess I get it. One of your favorite guys. I put him early. AZ.
Ooh, AZ. I'm going number 2 for AZ. I can just say it off the bat because AZ, I think we had to go back to our season predictions that we did on this show way before the season started. And I think he was one of my breakout stars to look out for. And he's been everything. Like I remember him coming on in the early part of the season as a sub. I remember turning to you like, this guy looks fun when he gets on the pitch. And he's been everything. He's been so much fun to watch, so creative, the bouncing hair up and down. He's got the full look going for him. I love his personality. I love his play. So number 2.
All right, next one. This is going to be another similar one there. Celio Pompeo.
Celio, I'm going to put it right in the middle. Make a little sandwich there and put him in the 3 spot. Celio, obviously, we saw a lot of him, I'd say, in the middle part of the season. I think he got a run of games in terms of subs and starts. And we love the dynamic he plays with. He's so fast, so shifty. He has some end product as well in his game. But with the newcomers, really not the newcomers, but the guys returning from injury and just how the squad has evolved recently, I don't even think he's been making the bench, unfortunately. So he's been getting some minutes down at City 2, and City 2 is rocking. So I'm sure there's some correlation there. So I'm going to put him in my 3 spot.
All right, so you have 2, 3, and 4. So now you're leaving it for the last 2. It's a pretty ballsy move, Jake. This one, I'm intrigued. Jared Stroud. I say this because you said he was your guy this year. I know. That's why I threw him in the mix.
This is tough because I just don't know where you're going to go on this last one. I assume you're going to come in hot on the 5 with a big name. So I'm going to reluctantly put him in the 5. But I have liked Jared Stroud this season. He's been a significant value play and contributor for us. Couldn't get a sniff for minutes last year with Austin, and scoring against Austin in the way that he did was phenomenal way to start our season. He's been a great contributor, and he's got that edge to him, that mental edge. So I reluctantly put him in the 5 because I'm sure you're going to try to trick me with this last person.
There's only 2 ways you can go with it, either really big or really small.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Jake, you chose too conservatively. Ben Lunt is your number 1.
Oh my God. All right. Ben Lunt, number 1. We have not seen a lot of Ben, unfortunately, but when called upon, he had that high profile air in the US Open Cup. But I honestly, in the performance that I've seen since then, I think he's been fine. His frame is huge. He's obviously not a guy that we're overpaying for at this point, and you have such a star in net with Berkey that you don't really know how many games he's going to get here and there. But it'd be interesting if Berkey ever got hurt if we saw a stretch. I think he'd really learn what Ben Lunt's about. So yeah, it's a tough 1 spot. But
quick recap: Ben Lunt, AZ, Celio, Miggy, Jared Stroud.
If we could literally just flip 1 and 5, if I'd have gone the opposite route, I think it actually would have looked pretty decent.
Yeah, I would agree. That's
AZ
what I
should
was.
be number 1. I thought you were coming with like a Leuven or a Berkey and just throw it. Yeah.
I originally had Joao earlier today. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw in just an absolute question mark.
Nice. We were talking before this, and I was like, you're going to throw an Owen O'Malley on here. Just guy's been an enigma. Like, we have not seen this man.
Samir Pedro.
Yeah. Oh, my God. All right. Well, hey, so we kind of already did it here, but we're going to twist things a little bit around today. If you're listening to us right now, we already talked about YouTube. Definitely go follow us, like us there, subscribe to us there, but go on the same thing, Apple, Spotify. Throw us a follow on the show or subscribe to the show. Leave us a comment down below. We just hit 100 ratings on Apple. We have like a 4.9, which is awesome. I'm so glad to see that you guys are liking what you're listening to. We love doing this for you all, and this has been a fun project to work on throughout the year, especially as the team's been kicking butt. So go follow the show there as well. And Justin, you usually carry us on the sponsor side of this.
Absolutely. Follow us there. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Get into Apple, get into Spotify, leave everything you can there. And then the best, especially on our sponsors, Jake, I'm going to go all three this time. I know we don't always do them, but Series 6, series6company.com, 15% off using the code BALLWATCHING, 20% on souljuice.com. Getting the juice from Luis. Like I said, big news coming from him. Cavinder twins were just on GQ, looking very athletic. And then also get to the pitch, dude. The pitch is the best place to watch these games. And even when they're away games or if it's college football, Mizzou's back, everything. The pitch is my favorite place to be. I know you guys know that. And I'm going to be drinking frozen Irish coffees till next summer.
Yeah, it's not just a summer drink. It's a through the winter. It's something that just maintains for sure. Just like the sun comes up, frozen Irish coffee is always good, always slaps. So, and the only place you can get that in St. Louis is at the pitch. So make sure you hit it. So Justin, any other thoughts as we turn the page from Sporting Kansas City? Or actually, you know what? Let's officially revert back to the S words until September 30th. So the S words, obviously a bitter loss, not one that you love to receive, but I do think it contributes to making the rivalry. It's almost like Batman needs his Joker. You know, you got to have some interesting drama between the teams to actually cultivate a fun rivalry here. But all things aside, still sitting with a 6-point gap at the top of the Western Conference, which following the losses that we've had recently, I'm pretty shocked to see that. And I think a lot of it is because, like we talked about in the last show, the Western Conference is faltering. A lot of the teams that are in the upper parts of that conference, LAFC, I'm looking at you, and I hope I don't kick myself for that, so I'll do a little knock on the door there. But LAFC is not closing the gap. They're not taking their chances. So they are 7 points back from us, not 6. Seattle is right behind us with 6 points, but they also have played an extra game. So LAFC I really consider our deeper competition for the number 1 seed there, and they have 1 game in hand on us with the 7-point gap. And it's not getting any easier for them either. So seeds 2 to 8, though, Justin, I was looking at the conference standings right before this. 5 points separate number 2, Seattle, and number 8, which I think might be San Jose. But anyway, it's a crazy tight gap at anything outside of number 1. So it could be anyone, you know, grabbing a spot in round 1 or getting home field as well. So that just shows you how tight this Western Conference is.
No, absolutely. So the 8 seed is San Jose right now.
Yeah.
So Dallas would be the 9 seed. It's kind of insane. So you talk about LAFC kind of dropping the ball a little bit. They just played Miami. They lost 3-1, I believe. And Miami looked good in that game. And that just kind of proves to you the East has been kind of beaten up on us. I mean, look at the top 4 teams in the East, 57, 47, 46 points. You look at top 4 in ours, 47 is us, 41 Seattle, 40 LAFC, 40 Real Salt Lake. So that is a difference of 7 points from the 4th spot on for them. So the East isn't doing a lot better, but I will say power rankings, MLS moved us back from 5 to 7. ESPN kept us at 5. It was a tough game. It's a road game. We've learned that in the MLS that no game is easy on the road, especially with a rivalry game like that. So I'm not surprised we moved down a little bit, but we have to bounce back this week.
I'm all good with that. And in other news, talking about City before we get into previewing the LA Galaxy game coming up on the weekend, is City 2. City 2 is hot. These boys are rolling, just beat Houston this last weekend, and they had 28% possession in that game. Just a spitting image of their older brother, the first team here. And midfielder Faisal Batash recorded the first hat trick in club history, netting all 3 of our goals. Guess who supplied 2 of those? your boy Celio. And Klein had the other one as well. So a comprehensive win, and one that extends our unbeaten streak to now 7 games. So 5 wins and 2 draws in that span. We are now firmly entrenched in a playoff spot currently. And it's the longest streak for the team in City 2 history, going unbeaten since the inaugural campaign, which we know was phenomenal last year. So a big thing for this team. They take on Vancouver next, who's number 9 in the standings right now. And then SJ being San Jose and Minnesota, 1 and 2 points behind us currently. So they're chasing at our heels. And then we play LA Galaxy and Sporting Kansas City. So 3 total games left. Vancouver, LA Galaxy, who's already been eliminated this season, and the S words, who are 7 points ahead of us. So we've got it all to play for here, but I think a win likely kind of qualifies us into the playoffs. We weren't always in that position. So kudos to the boys.
No, definitely not always in that position. So we're 2 points up off of the playoff line with Minnesota FC at 38, and we're with 40. A win here would be huge to close that gap on Sporting Kansas City, who has already clinched as well, like you said. So those guys, I mean, it's a rivalry game when we play them. They're not just going to be like, oh, we're in the playoffs, you guys can have this done. Right. But it is looking good for the boys. It's been a hell of a ride. And shout out to TK, shout out to AJ Palazzolo. Some of the guys have been on the podcast already. They've been pushing and grinding all summer for this, and it's kind of coming to a culmination now. So I'd love to see it. One other exciting thing for St. Louis, not city specific, will be at City Park on Saturday, is U.S. men's national team. The camp is here. The boys flew in Sunday night.
Yeah.
We're practicing here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday on the city practice fields. We play Uzbekistan, who was 74th in the FIFA ranking on Saturday, and then the next game against Oman, who was 73rd, as we're prepping for the AFC Asian Cup. One big name from St. Louis that we love to see on it is Tim Ream. He's been in and out of the U.S. men's national team throughout his career, earning 26 caps from 2010 to 2017 before not being included in the Americans' failure to qualify for the World Cup. But he did return to the squad under Greg. Ooh, shout out to Greg for that tweet, by the way, for having us be the national or the soccer capital of the U.S. Greg brought him in 2019 and since has earned another 25 caps over the last 4 years. He's with the team in St. Louis. I saw Brad Davis was out there taking a picture with the guys and a lot of the St. Louisans that were in the World Cup team on, I want to say it was like back in 86.
No, dude, it was broader than that. So there's been a total of 76 players from St. Louis that have gone to the national team at some point. Some have 1 cap, some have 2 caps, some have multiple, right? And they gathered as many as they could on Tuesday before practice to take a picture. So it was awesome to see. That's why people talk about St. Louis being a soccer capital as well. As we, I think, have fed to this date 10% of all national team players ever to the U.S. national team are from St. Louis. So another, feather in our hats of being called the soccer capital. And Greg backed it up. Greg made a big fan out of me, again, with this comment. He was doing some post-practice press, and he said to Tom Timmerman, the Post-Dispatch put this out here, saying, growing up in the U.S., we've always viewed St. Louis as a soccer capital of the United States. And there were some unhappy people in those comments. It was glorious. So it's going to be a good game, though, on Saturday. I think it happens at 4:30 at City Park. And again, like you said, Justin, taking on Uzbekistan. And this is a full roster. These are the full boys out here. You got Pulisic, Serginho Dest, Tim Ream, like you said, Anthony Robinson, Musa, McKennie. So you're going to see, it's not going to be like the summer with the Gold Cup. It's going to be the real guys, probably starting a pretty solid 11 in that game, and you're looking to just hopefully clatter this team. So should be an exciting event, and it's good at a good time as well on a Saturday.
Yeah, 4:30 p.m. You can watch it on Max, formerly HBO Max, or Peacock, 4:30 p.m. We talked about one thing I did want to shout out. You put in here, we should definitely mention it. Pulisic. When people were talking about all the actors, actresses, famous people, athletes at the Messi game in LA, Pulisic said, "Let them know they're invited to the U.S. men's national team games too." It's like, and then I saw someone say, like, "All right, just maybe grab like a Messi on your team and then play in New York, not in Columbus, get these names." People are going back and forth on it. But like you said, we'll have a packed starting lineup, Balogun as well. So if you can get to the game right now, tickets are like $45 for like third row. So it's a good Saturday afternoon fun.
Very, very affordable. Probably one of the most affordable games this season at that stadium. So let's get into the Galaxy, though, Justin. We're here to break down a preview of the fixture coming up on the weekend with the Galaxy. Just a reminder about the LA Galaxy, probably one of the most legendary clubs, at least in terms of brand, in the MLS. They began playing in 96 as one of the league's 10 initial charter members, and they've been one of the most successful teams to date. They have 5 MLS Cups. Most recent, though, wasn't since 2014. 4 additional appearances in the final, and they won the Western Conference regular season title 8 times, 4 Supporter Shields, and 2 U.S. Open Cups, including 1 CONCACAF Champions Cup title. So this is a very winning-oriented team. Unfortunately, has not been the story recently for them, but they will always be known for what they did in revolutionizing, bringing stars to the States. And they brought, David Beckham in 2007, which was absolutely unreal. I think it paved the way for a lot of the stars you've seen hit the league today. And there is no chance at all that Messi would have come here had it not been for David Beckham, 1, as a player, and then 2, as the owner of Miami now. So it's crazy how one thing leads to another. That's a domino effect, but they're all-time legends as a club for making that possible, because Messi's not here without them.
I absolutely had a David Beckham, a white LA Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was the Herbalife was their logo way back
right.
then. Oh, my God. That was the coolest jersey. That was like when Messi came, but imagine like when we were kids. It was just that I was that giddy to get that on Christmas. For one of the SCL connections that we kind of talked about as well, Chris Klein, and we mentioned it earlier in the season, but parted ways with LA in May. He's a successful MLS player, though, with 20 caps for the U.S. men's national team in a decade as president of LA Galaxy, 1 MLS Cup, 1 MLS Wooden Spoon Award. And then he did have a pretty big fall from grace as he was the predecessor of Bruce Arena, departed for U.S. men's national team. He had some individual designated player success and other flops as well. Costa, until recently, has had more red card than goal contributions and the 7th highest salary in MLS. Declining fan attendance. They had that whole ordeal where the fans were showing up and kind of doing what the A's are doing for Oakland right now as well. And it's kind of been a little bit of a mess for him, or it was a mess for him.
It's an unfortunate way to end his tenure, and he was suspended in the winter part of last season, stemming from the club's handling of this Christian Pavone signing. We talked about it when we initially talked about Chris Klein, and he penned a letter to the supporters basically saying that he would step down if they did not advance in the playoffs this year, and he didn't even get to go that far because they were languishing. So unfortunate, but Chris Klein is a big name in the sport here in the States, and you got to shout out another St. Louis guy. So hoping things turn out for him in the end. Just has not happened at the LA Galaxy. But Galaxy, we already played them this season. It was June 11th. We played them to a 1-1 draw at City Park. And, recounting the game, first half was a bit slow. Both teams are kind of just getting their feet under them, missing big chances. Second half, though, we came out. We dominated. We had 14 shots, 2 big chances, generated 1.3 XG. Nico had that really cool flick goal with the outside of his foot, just a looping ball into the far corner. It was an amazing finish. And we thought we had it. I thought that was it there, only for them to undo us in the 84th minute. Nowinski kind of got caught holding on the ball a little bit too long. Costa took it off of them, sprayed across, fizzing across goal, and they had an easy kind of tap in. The way in which it happened, that game played out, it was a home draw that felt like a loss. And to me, it was 2 points lost for us. Should have been 3. And everyone come to the stadium just kind of feeling very unsatisfied with what just went on.
No, absolutely. Because I remember for us, that was one of the more exciting, that was the big name team that was coming to St. Louis, like you said, a very historic franchise. And we were all excited. We were heavy favorites. I think we threw a decent amount of money on it as well, knowing how bad they were to start the season. And that one just felt like we just absolutely should have done to them, especially like you said, and you talked about that second half. So what's happened since with them? Right after that, they had 2 wins, 3 draws, and a loss until Leagues Cup, where then they had a pretty good run there as well. Beat Chicago 3-0 and San Jose 3-2, and then drew with Houston. And then otherwise with their team, they've had a couple transfers, only free agents from overseas due to client sanctions. But Maya Yoshida, we'll get to him with a little bit more detail there. He's not as we'll touch on him and the more specific people. Diego Fagundes, who's a 28-year-old Uruguayan center attacking mid, 68 goals, 67 assists, and 350 MLS appearances. Where did he come from, Jake?
Austin. He was in a swap deal. Yeah.
Because he played against us in our first ever game.
Yep, that's right.
Go ahead. I'll let you take next to
it. They made some signings because they were limited, right? I mean, they couldn't do anything because of those sanctions in terms of transfer fees. They only could sign free agents from overseas. And they signed Billy Sharp, who is a 37-year-old Englishman. He's a striker coming from Sheffield United. His contract was up. Scored 266 goals, 75 assists in almost 700 matches while in England. He's a legend at Sheffield United, but also played for Southampton, Leeds, Nottingham Forest, all clubs that we probably recognize. And they also acquired Edwin Cirillo from FC Dallas as well, who's a 22-year-old central defensive midfielder. And for his age, he's already played over 100 professional games. So he's a pretty versatile young talent in the central midfield of the park. And really, as for the season for them, they're on the mend, but the points still don't look great for them. They're 29 points into this season, 13th in the West, 6 wins, 10 losses, 8 draws. Way too many losses if you're thinking about the LA Galaxy. Home wise, they're about 4-4-3, away 2-6-5. So the away record doesn't surprise me. The home record's pretty awful. But we'll get to it. They've had some marquee games. But goals for 31, which gets them 22nd in the MLS. They're also 22nd in the MLS in goals against at 39. So a -8 goal differential. So key results though, Justin, you put these in here. This kind of shocked me. They have some marquee ones.
I was surprised. So what we do with this, we try to take some of the stronger opponents that they've played this year. They've split with Seattle. They 2-1 loss at home, but then a 3-1 win at Seattle.
Crazy.
And then they also split with LAFC, vice versa. They lost at LAFC 2-3, and then they won at home 2-1. And then they also beat Philly 3-1 earlier this year. And their most recent game this past weekend was a draw versus Houston, which I believe are sitting, fifth in the West?
Yep. Yeah. Very much in the picture. Yep.
So they've played some strong games. It's just been they have not closed out the other games that they needed to. I mean, then you take that with tying us on the road as well. I feel like we should probably throw in we're the strongest team in the West. We start throwing in games against us. And then I will say just quickly on their magic number, not a whole lot we need to touch on here. They are 29 points with a 1.16 points per match with 9 games remaining, which gives them about 10 points if they keep the same pace the rest of the season. If they want to get the 9th spot, the wild card, as of right now, the way it stands, they need 16 points. So they are going to have to pick it up to even make the wild card. 19 points for the 7th spot, which would give them into the first round, but not have home field advantage. And then if they want home field advantage, they would need 22 points, which just does not seem realistic for this team with 9 games left.
And your math works out perfectly here, Justin, because they're sitting at 29 points right now. And you said 16 points will get them to the playoffs. 16 plus 29 is what? 45. That's the floor line that everyone talks about for playoffs. So there's murmurs that they could make a push and do this. They have a talented team and they've been better as of recently, but can they dig out of the hole they dug for themselves earlier on in the season? So to be seen, we shall see. But
people are starting to murmur that you don't have the balls to do it. Sorry.
Yes, that's what they're saying about the Galaxy. Do they have the balls? Well, who's been kicking the balls for that, man, is this Ricky Pooch guy.
Oh my God.
This dude is a baller among ballers. He's a 23. I wish we had a guy like he's so fun to watch. I don't know if you've watched him. Like I wish there was just a camera following him, but he's 23 years old, Spaniard, came from Barcelona, worth about 7.2 right now. I could see that going up. But really, he's 5 goals, 7 assists into this season. Highest rated player, their leading chance creator and successful dribbler. He's played 24 of 24 games, started 24 of those, and leads the team in minutes by over 2 games. Like he just does not come out. And you look at the MLS, like let's click out of LA Galaxy, look at the whole league. He has the most touches, the most successful take-ons, the most progressive carries, the most progressive carry distance, so basically just dribbling distance, and the most passes into the final third. So he is the definition of a star player when you think about star players. There is no LA Galaxy this season without Ricky Pooch.
I was just about to look up MVP. I don't know if they have lines.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing with that is like he doesn't have the stats, like the goal stats for it.
But 5 and 7. Yeah,
that's true. No, he definitely has some production, but I think a lot of his stuff is stuff that is not going to show up. It's like Leuven for me. It's not going to show up necessarily in the leaderboards of these big categories, but you take him out of that team, they're nothing without him.
That's fair. Next guy we want to mention, I think a lot of people will know, is Tyler Boyd, left winger, 28-year-old American, signed on a free after contract expired for Besiktas in Turkey. And it's been a huge addition for their goals plus assists. He has 6 goals and 1 assist for the team, second on the team in shots and shots on target. So look for him on the left side, which will be coming down our right side, which is hopefully Akil Watts. We'll talk about that here in a bit. And then we mentioned it earlier, Maya Yoshida. I love that you added them in here because 34-year-old Japanese international, played in 3 FIFA World Cups, hundreds of appearances for European top tier, Southampton, Sampdoria, VVV Velino, which is Netherlands, and Schalke. And he's also started and played the full 90 minutes last 3 games. And it's the only 3 games he's played this season. That's why I was like, why are you throwing this guy in here? But his background is incredible.
It is. I mean, he's a journeyman. I mean, he's a legend in terms of the game, especially for Japan. And I've watched Premier League all the time. He's been on Southampton for a long time, and he's coming from Schalke. But I remember his Southampton days. And he was always a steady defender. and they're bringing him in and they just inserted him right into the 11. Yeah, he's 34, but who cares? He's providing them, he's significantly bolstering their back line, and he's been really effective for them so far. Other players on this team for the Galaxy we didn't mention, Chicharito, who's been out injured, kind of story of his time with Galaxy so far, unfortunately. Douglas Costa, who's kind of come back to life for them since I feel like we played them. 7 assists this season for them. And then Dejan Joveljic, who is their striker usually. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists for them. And they're head coached by Greg Vanney. Another Greg. We love the lineage of Gregs here. But he was hired in January of 2021. He's coached over 250 matches in his MLS time, and most of those with Toronto. He won a domestic treble with them, which is MLS Cup, Supporter Shield, most points in the MLS, and a Canadian championship with them in 2017. So he's a really, really solid coach in terms of when you ask around who the best American coach is. I feel like his name's usually in that pool. Usually plays them in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 with kind of 2 6s, Pooch being one of them. They channel a lot of that attack through the middle. It's like just get the ball to Ricky Pooch, and he can either pass his way out of danger or dribble out of it. They do a lot of connecting short passes. Very, very heavy possession style team. But I'll leave it here, Justin. I'll let you kind of go. I think they're really reliant on their star players, and specifically Pooch.
No, absolutely. I think we look at, in just a quick history, they lost to LAFC in the Western Conference semis last year. They're trying to claw back in to that playoff spot, which we know is going to be tough. But with some of these individual people, that's some of their strengths is individual skill and taking guys on. And with that, even though they're 22nd in power rankings, their last 5 games at home is a draw, win, draw with a 1.1 or 1.5 points per game at home with a +4 goal differential. So they obviously play better at home. And looking at their offense, and that's what you're talking on right here, their XG of 1.56 per 90 is 7th in the MLS, even though they're only scoring 1.24 goals per game, which is pretty average. But at home, it gets even better. They're 1.8 XG with 19 of their 31 goals for. And their goals for, 32% of them, or a third of them, come mid-second half in that 61st to 75th. And then 19% come in the 31st to the 45th, so right before halftime, or the last 15 minutes of the game. So looking more as the late half or the late aspect of the game for them to get some goals.
Yeah, you definitely got to keep an eye on the second half of this team, given you said a third of their goals come in that 61 to 75 minute mark. So a different challenge for us this weekend. But they score every 57 minutes at home. 26 of those 31 goals you mentioned, Justin, have come from inside the 18. 5 of them outside the 18, obviously. 4 of those being headers. They generate shots per 90 in the top 5 in the MLS, and also in the top 5 in shots on target as well. So they're very accurate with their shots as well. They create a lot of their shot creating actions from live balls, just live passing, live connecting. And they also do really well from take-ons as well. So individual skill, individual dribbling, and they are not afraid to shoot from distance. This team has the 3rd most distance per shot at 19.3. And they also have top 10 shots from free kicks as well. So not afraid to shoot from set pieces or shoot from distance, period. Like I said, big possession team. The big possession stat you hear is around progressive carries and progressive dribbling. And just for people that don't know what that means, progressive passing is completed passes that move the ball towards the opponent's goal at least 10 yards from its furthest point in the last 6 passes. So basically just think about passes that are really getting you to go forward and from your furthest point you've been on the field so far. So it's a good stat to show teams that really build well. We're not going to have many of those. That's not our MO, but LA is that type of team. They also take a lot of corner kicks. So offensively, that's how I'd round out their narrative.
Yeah, but I think on the flip side, their defense is pretty bad, which explains why they're so low in the table. Their XG of 1.53 per 90 is 6th worst, with an actual of 1.56 goals against per game, which is 5th worst. Home form, their 1.34 XGA is 20th in the MLS, with only 15 goals allowed of their 39 at home. They tend to give them up, a third of them, again, in that 61st to 75th minute, and then 20% of those are right before halftime as well in the 31st to 45th. So they concede every 72 minutes or so, more than average on shots on target against, and then 10th most goals against in the MLS. They've allowed the most free kick goals, which is just tied at 2, so nothing too high there, but something to keep an eye on. They're 3rd to last in tackles and bottom 10 in all thirds for that as well, and then tied for 5th most errors in the MLS. So bottom 10 in save percentage at 69.3% and clean sheets of only 24% of their games. And I think as we get into all this, I'll try this one real quick, Jake. Post-shot XG minus goals against They have a plus 1.4 for their goalie. Rook Berkey is still the best at a 7.1 after he had to climb up a little bit there. He's been in the sixes, but that Sporting Kansas City game helped because our defense did not help him.
No, they did not. So above average goalkeeping coming from the Galaxy, but I wouldn't say I'm overly impressed with the save percentage or the clean sheet percentage either. So let's jump to keys to the game, Justin, here for us. Home and away, City away, we're really being bolstered by our early success here because we've not been great away recently. I think our last one was Toronto. And Toronto's not a good team. But away, we're 5-7-1 this season. LA Galaxy at home, we already talked about being 5-4-3. Our last 5 away, we've lost our last 3. And before that, we had 2 wins. So win-win and 3 losses, but all those being back-to-back. Unfortunate. But offensively, what does this team need to do to get on the board and win this game? For me, a couple things. Let's get shots on net early and often. Let's test this goalie. We saw that he's decent this year, but bottom 10 save percentage. Let's look for rebounds. Let's be really hungry in front of net with this team. Let's use free kicks as well as a huge opportunity to shoot. I don't have a problem with that. I'm sure we will. And I think my third thing is I'm going to challenge this team to try to possess sometimes, occasionally. Let some air out of the game. LA is going to have the ball for so much of this game. We would do so well to step on the ball, breathe sometimes, because we're going to be running around all game with our press and with their possession ability. It could be a disaster in terms of legs and just trying to catch a breath. My last thing I want to say is this team's obviously also very air prone. Let's use our press. Let's use our counter press smartly, intelligently when we should to force errors out of this back line and generate opportunities. We know they're defensively not the best. So the chances will come. Let's not get frustrated and let's pounce whenever we can.
And then I would say, kind of flip side of that, with how strong they are offensively, things we need to focus on defensively is joint defending. Thinking about that with the amount of runners and guys, they have that individual skill, no ball watching. We need to be staying with runners. I'll say directly with that, Blum needs to be attached to the hip of Ricky Push and just make sure that if he is moving somewhere else, that him and or Leuven, they better be starting together. I swear, Jake, know where he is going. We need to close down shooting angles well, knowing that they have a lot of individual skill, no long shots that are dangerous for Berkey, no dumb fouls, giving them set pieces, because we already know that they're 4th in the MLS in corner kicks. And I love what you have here. The goal that we should have, like last game for Kansas City, was get to halftime ahead or tied. The goal for this game is to keep a clean sheet versus them in the second half.
Yep. And that doesn't mean disregard the first half, but we know how lethal they can be in the second half. Both, like, they also are leaky in the second half, but they score a third of their goals in the second half as well. So for us, it's just bite something off here. Let's bite that challenge off, offer that up to the guys in the locker room and say, we're coming out of the second half conceding 0 goals.
Yep.
So that's my goal for them. And starting 11, Justin, I actually do have it for us today. So if you kind of want to get us started on what you think it's going to be, I know I put the
absolutely. As you're getting pulled up for the visual people on YouTube, yep. I mean, we all know who our goalie is. That's Mr. Roman Berkey, even though Jake put Ben Lunt as his favorite City player just a couple of minutes ago. At our left back, going from left to right, Anthony Markinek, Joakim Nielsen, Tim Parker, Akil Watts. We talked about this. I really hope Carnell goes with this because I do think this is our strongest back 4 right now.
Agreed. And going into the midfield trio, we have Blum and Leuven and Jackson at the spear there. I mean, it's hard to argue that. I think the only one you might want to argue sometimes is AZ. Do you put Indy there? Do you shift Leuven up? I mean, some people might want to say that. That's my preferred trio. And then across the front 3, I'm going back to Thorson, on the left winger, and I'm going back to Rasmus Alm on the right side. He did not start last game, but I want to see a full start with him. And then, you know what? I think it's time to give Klaus a start up top. He's made 3 cameos, each one of them getting progressively longer. Let's see how he fares. If you want to take him on at half, that's fine. Or play him for 60 minutes, that's fine. But I think we should give him a start and see what our team looks like when we are giving him the reins in the very early part of the game. Everyone's fresh, everyone's fit and ready to go. I want to see him get a start in this game.
I would agree with all of this, as we always do. I think this was your favorite starting lineup that we talked about last episode, but I'm going to do the exact same thing that I said last episode as well. I'm switching AZ out for Nico. Give me the connection with Joao and Nico again. I think we miss it. It's something that we forget about, and I would love to see those guys out there together. I'm hoping by this point it's a full week's rest for these fellas. They're at home training, getting everything ready, so hopefully they can just take care of business and get the full legs in.
I hear you. Predictions and bets time, Justin. Let's do ours both, together. So I'm going to do prediction and bets for me, and then you can go. So prediction, I'm going to go 2-2 draw here. I think both these teams show an ability to score goals. I think a 2-2 draw would be more than fine for us. I do think we want to win this game, but I think for us just to get a point away, show we can do that, especially as we're heading into the playoffs here very shortly, we need to get a result. And I think a draw would be fine against a surging kind of Galaxy team. My bets for the game are going to be 2. I've got 1 being a first half draw, and that's a plus 145. So pretty good odds there for anyone that wants to make some moolah. And right now I'm betting that because 67% of the time that hits for the Galaxy, and it hits for us 54% of the time away. And both those are catered to home and away. So it's very personalized bet there. And then finally, parlay for my second one of being both teams to score and the second half over of 1.5. Putting those two together gets you minus 110, which shows you how many goals they're expecting this game. But both teams is 61% when you look at the aggregate of both those teams. And the second half over 1.5 hits for LA at home 75% of the time, and it hits for us 69% of the time away from home. So 2 informed bets for all my statisticians out there, and that's where my money's going for this one.
Yeah, I'm not as informed as Jake. I bet with my gut, but it works out a lot. But I'll say prediction 2-1. I'm going to give us a dub on this one, Jake. I think we can hold them down with our defense. I think you give me Blum and Leuven. We talked about it. I thought we were going to have that for Sporting KC. I don't see us giving up 2 goals to this team. Berkey's pissed off. He didn't really get a chance to bounce back after that let-in that he had against FC Dallas late in the game. So I think he's going to be ready for this one. Big LA game. My bets, you're already money line is City plus 260, LA Galaxy minus 120, draw plus 285. The over-under is up to 3.5, plus 105 for the over, and the under is minus 150. I'm not taking any of that. I'm going back to my absolute well every time, Jake. When we are this big of dogs, us double chance to either tie or win is minus 110. I will be hammering that. That will be my second largest bet of the year. Maybe I'll make it the largest because I just lost it last week. And then City over 1.5 goals is plus 120. I got jealous that you had a parlay and I don't have a parlay. So I was trying to put one together, but I want a Leuven. So I might just, or not Leuven, sorry. I might just go with Joao goalies plus 200. He hasn't been that high this whole season. That's because he hasn't been playing. So might do a little sprinkle on that as well.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Well, let's get you back to the green, Justin. We don't want to do more of this ice soup stuff going on. We do not want that. But this match is on Sunday for all those folks that are thinking this is Saturday. This match is on Sunday evening. So a little way to end your weekend, prevent the Sunday scaries. You can watch a City match.
It is the only MLS game on Sunday.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, 7 p.m., I believe.
No excuses. Everyone should be tuning in. Apple Season Pass for this one. All the eyes will be on us for this fixture, and I think one that we want to get a result in. So I'm hoping that it's a momentous occasion for us, and just adding points to our tally would be great, especially away from home and flexing that muscle as we head into the playoffs. So that's all we have for you in this preview. Looking forward to the Galaxy match on Sunday evening. Hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your week and weekend leading up to this game. We will circle back with you all on Monday, hopefully celebrating another 3 points in the bag for City. So in the meantime, hope everyone takes care, and all for City.
All for City.